Welcome back to another UFC fight prediction video. In this video, I'll be predicting the main card fights for UFC Fight Night on ESPN Plus, Lewis versus Dos Santos. So without further ado, let's get to our first fight on the main card. So in our first fight on the main card, we have in the middleweight division, Tim Boetsch versus Akhmedov. So looking at this fight, I'm looking at Tim Boetsch and saying that his hunger, it might not really be there as much as it once was. He's in his late 30s, pushing 40. His his family talked about him retiring. He talked about retirement several times. That was like 2 years ago. So it's fast forward 2 years to present day. Is that hunger still there? If it was even questionable 2 years ago, hasn't really secured a take. In over the past 4 or 5 years, has only secured 2 or 3 takedowns, and he's a wrestler. So that's not a good sign. Up and down record. Yes, he fought some good competition, but against that good competition, he got ran through basically against the good competition. And Jacare, that's like cream of the crop. Shufe Carlos Jr., that's a real top fighter, but he's not Jacare level. That's still pretty good fighter, but still, if you're at this level, you're not supposed to just get run through by the best people or just style matches. You're supposed to be bringing it every single time. And more so with those matches, I think he just kind of caved in. Like he felt like maybe got in the cage and was crushed under the pressure, or maybe feel like those fighters were just so much better than him. That's what kind of seemed like when looking at the fights. Like in the Jacare fight, he easily gave up a takedown when he could have fought much harder to defend that takedown. He's supposed to be a solid wrestler, but he's giving up takedowns so easily to a BJJ guy. I know Jacare is phenomenal, but you're supposed to be able to defend those takedowns much better than that and at least show much more grit to try to defend those takedowns. The same with Carlos Jr. Like he just kind of conceded on these takedowns rather easily. Then on the ground, didn't really do much to defend himself and got submitted with much ease. And I say there's probably people with way less credentials and way less skills who could afford it much better than him. I don't think it's some injuries. I think it's a mental type of thing that was going on with him, especially with that retirement looming on his mind. But as far as these two, I think they could present similar things. Both can wrestle. Both can strike. Tim Boetsch has a little bit more power. Akhmedov pushes a little bit higher volume with his strikes. Definitely he's coming up from welterweight division, so that's the lower you go, the higher the pace. So he's coming from a smaller weight class. He brings a higher pace, higher pace than Boetsch. He's going to use his wrestling. Tim Boetsch might not use it as much. We really haven't seen that bullying style that Tim Boetsch was known for in quite a while. We haven't really seen it since when he first came down to the division. Then when he kind of ran into the top of the competition, he started kind of getting away from that, and I don't know, he kind of lost his style in a way, especially now 37, 38. We don't know if that's going to be there. And really, I'm just going to link to Akhmedov in this fight. Tim Boetsch will have that big shot to land that punch. He does have that power, and he can always land that big shot. But I feel like Akhmedov is going to be outworking him, and pushing the pace. And he's going to be the more hungry fighter, in my opinion, because he feels that he can still do something in this division. Whereas Tim Boetsch, when he fights the best people, it seems like he doesn't feel like he belongs in there. A lot of times we see him in there, it just seems like he doesn't feel like he belongs. But Akhmedov, the hunger's still there. I think he's at least 5 years younger than Tim Boetsch, so he's a younger fighter, still improving, still working. He still got that desire to be the best. Where I don't think Tim Boetsch is just trying to stand around saying if he still got it. He kind of questioned himself, do I still got it? Whereas Akhmedov doesn't even need to question that. He's just going out there. He might not be the best. He might think he's the best, but he's definitely not the best. But he at least has that hunger and desire to be the best. But I think Tim Boetsch is just trying to see if he has enough to stick around. I think that's really going to be the tellers fight. You can't be in this game in the UFC at this level and not feel that you are the best or can be the best. And I feel like Tim Boetsch kind of lost that at this point, at this age, with retirement on his mind. And I think Akhmedov can challenge him everywhere and outwork him. I don't think Tim Boetsch is going to have too much success with his takedowns. He's not going to use that bullying style he once had because it's been long gone. Then against Akhmedov, outwork him. Tim Boetsch does have that chance to land that big shot, but other than that, that's really all he has. And I think Akhmedov is going to outwork him, defend his takedown, maybe even secure some takedowns of his own. And really, it's just the work rate of Akhmedov and the hunger all factoring on his side, which will allow him to win this fight. So in this fight, I got Akhmedov via decision. Now on to our next fight we have in the lightweight division, Dariush versus Drew Dober. Two veterans of this weight class, two solid fighters. But in this fight, I feel like Dariush has just better everywhere outside of chin. Outside of chin, Dariush, I feel like he has better striking, though. Drew Dober is supposed to be some Muay Thai champion, several time Muay Thai champion. I don't know what level of Muay Thai, because there's so many different levels of it. I definitely don't think it's the highest level of Muay Thai, but still solid striking. But I feel like Dariush, as far as MMA striking, it's just a much better striker. He's been in there with much better competition and fared well with much better competition. He was out striking Edson Barboza for like the first round. He beat Michael Johnson in a very close fight that could have went the other way. I mean, he did win that fight, I'm saying, but it could have went to Michael Johnson, but still, he was going in there with some very solid strikers. Whereas Drew Dober hasn't really even fought the best strikers, and a lot of times he's been outstruck. I just feel like Beneil Dariush is just a better striker, and also he's a much better grappler, like a several degree black belt in jiu-jitsu. And even Werdum says it's hard to submit him, or he can't submit him. And Werdum is a heavyweight world champion of jiu-jitsu at the highest level, so that shows how good Dariush is. And that might be some flattery, but it definitely shows how good jiu-jitsu is when he's out there fighting. So I think he's the better striker, the better grappler, the overall better MMA fighter, has fought better competition. And this fight really just gives Drew Dober a puncher's chance. That's about it. If he could push Beneil Dariush back and land a big shot, that's usually how Dariush, as a matter of fact, that's how Dariush always loses, because questionable chin, but his skill sets is unquestionable. But when he gets pushed back, that's like every time he lost has been when he getting pushed back or he got caught or dropped. He hasn't had a loss where he really lost a points decision. He hasn't lost the fight where he got wrestled or outstruck. It's when he got this caught one big shot and it changed the whole course of the fight or put his lights out. So I see the same thing with Drew Dober. He's certainly really not one of even the highest level opponents he's fought. Pretty much, actually, you look at the average opponent skill level that Dariush has fought is much higher than Drew Dober is, in my opinion, or probably what anybody else's opinion, because he fought the Johnsons, he fought, matter of fact, I'm not even going to go over that, but he fought a lot of good people. That's why I'm trying to go with this whole point. And I just really like give Drew Dober a puncher chance. I feel like Dariush is going to attack the leg with heavy leg kicks, heavy aggression. And then when Drew Dober tries to counter, he's going to duck under and get a takedown, and probably use that strategy over a couple rounds. Just use pressure, draw out Drew Dober's punches, duck under, get a takedowns, secure position, work him, and really try to take that puncher's chance out of the equation, not get too comfortable on the feet, which will allow Drew Dober to land a punch, but more so push him back, take the power off some of his punches by pushing him back, secure some takedowns, and work him. And I see a third round submission. I think he's going to work him in the first 2 rounds. Then once he breaks him down, those submission opportunities will present himself, because Drew Dober's a veteran. He's not going to be somebody that's going to easily give up submission. You're going to have to work that submission out of him, like make him give a neck, make him present a limb, make him make mistakes. And I think in the third round, Beneil Dariush will have him broken down enough for these opportunities to present himself, and I see a third round submission. So in this fight, I have Beneil Dariush via submission. Again, Beneil Dariush via submission. Now on to our next fight we have in the heavyweight division, Blagoy Ivanov versus Ben Rothwell. So Ben Rothwell has been out of this UFC fighting 3 years now. Well, he wasn't cut or nothing, but it was a drug suspension. He tested positive for something. I think in the Junior Santos loss, and he was out for like 3 years. Maybe he was about to go into the fight, but whatever the case is, he was out for like 3 years. Now he's returning, and I don't know what type of Ben Rothwell is returning. Will he be Ben Rothwell that was benefiting off drug use? And will he come in there with no chin, soggy, poor cardio, not enough power, not enough strength that he used to have? Or will he come in and be the same Ben Rothwell? And I'm going to assume he's going to be the same Ben Rothwell. It's going to be, for better or worse, around the same Ben Rothwell. He's been pretty much the same guy his whole career. He just had a good stride. He was pretty much he was the dude in the heavyweight division until he lost to Junior Santos. Because at that point, he was riding a good streak and he was beating everybody. He was looking intimidating. Then Junior Santos shut down his hype train by beating him. And then he tested positive for some drugs once again. And then he was suspended. And now he's coming back. The division had changed a lot. And yeah, so Ben Rothwell, I'm expecting the same Ben Rothwell. And as far as Blagoy Ivanov, what he presents that kind of Sambo, kind of rough you up type of style. I haven't really seen too many throws from him or really too many submissions for him, especially at the highest level. When we look at his World Series of fighting run, he was fighting some decent competition, but it was more middle tier competition, not the cream of the crop. But I do think he's a solid fighter. He's definitely trained at the right gym at AKA with a lot of good heavyweights. But what I see mostly from him is forward pressure, swinging heavy shots. And I think that pretty much bodes well for Ben Rothwell. They both got solid chins. Blagoy Ivanov took a lot of shots from Junior Santos, so did Ben Rothwell. They both took a lot of kill shots that would knock a lot of other people out, and they barely were fazed by them. But in this fight, I feel like I don't feel like Ben Rothwell is the much bigger fighter physically. He has a lot of strength. And with Blagoy Ivanov trying to plow forward, I think his chin will lower. And when people's chins lower against Ben Rothwell, that's when he puts them in that modified guillotine, or was that? I don't know. I think it's more of a neck crank, whatever he did. We got Matt Mitrione in that submission and Josh Barnett in that submission. And Josh Barnett is a real high level grappler. And to get him in that submission, that means it's a real effective submission. It's his what's called his go-to submission. I think against a shorter fighter, that choke will present itself. I think it's a back and forth slugfest between two hard fighters. Two tough, gritty fighters who like to go forward and who could take big shots and give and take some big shots. But Ben Rothwell being a bigger guy, the more experienced guy, I think that would play into his factor. I also think Ben Rothwell's chin is much better. We really haven't seen Ben Rothwell TKO'd ever, really, except by Andrei Arlovski several years ago. And he's fought a lot of heavy hitters, so I think Ben Roethlisberger is much more tested. And I think if they go into a slugfest, Ben Roethlisberger will come out the better man in that slugfest. So either way, I think Ben Roethlisberger will get the better of a lot of these fights based on how that styles match up. Unless Ivanov or decides to maybe try to implement some grappling and get under him. And even then, Ben Roethlisberger's takedown defense has been improving over these years. I don't know what's going to be at when he comes back, but I still think, like I said, I think it's going to be around the same Ben Roethlisberger. So it'll be kind of hard to take him down at this point, especially not really fast at level change. I don't think Ivanov has the fastest level changes. So to be, when he tries to go there, like I said, not the fast level change. So when he's going there, he's trying to change levels. That neck will be in Ben Roethlisberger's kill zone. He'll go for that, put him in that modified guillotine. It's like guillotine neck crank. I don't know what it's called. I think they call it a guillotine. But whatever. I mean, but it's on. Like I know what a guillotine and a neck crank is, but the way Ben Roethlisberger does is like a modified version. Because it's his own variation, and I think only seen him really do it. But whatever the case is, I think his neck will be presented in that opportunity in the situation when he's either trying to change levels or press in forward. That's usually when he sets those chokes up, like against Matt Mitrione and Josh Burnett. I think Ivanov will put himself in a similar position and get caught in that neck crank. And I say that will happen in the second round. So in this fight, I have Ben Rothwell via second round submission. Now on to our next fight we have in the welterweight division, Tim Means versus Nico Price. So looking at this fight, you got Nico Price coming off a loss to Razak. Got knocked out brutally in the first round, showed poor defense. You got Tim Means coming off a win over Ricky Rainey. He was getting outstruck by Ricky Rainey. Then he said, I got this grappler's guy. My grappling is much better than this guy. He took him down and mauled him pretty much. Was losing the striking match, took the guy down and mauled him. So one's coming off a win, one's coming off a loss. How do they match up? Nico Price is more of an awkward type of striker. I wouldn't say he is a technical striker, but he's physically strong, physically gifted in ways, but awkward. He can push forward on you. Grappling's pretty decent when you see him actually grapple, but we really haven't seen it too much. His takedown accuracy is about lower than 30%, which is pretty poor. I think he only secured 2 takedowns in the UFC, and one of them was against Brandon Thatcher, who has questionable grappling. So we don't really know exactly where his grappling is at. Well, I expect it to be pretty decent. But as far as him having an advantage in grappling over Tim Means, I don't think much of a grappling advantage. I think they're about even, just based on what they've shown at the highest level. On the feet, I think Tim Means is a much more skilled fighter. He has that length, and he has shown much more clinical, technical striking, whereas Nico Price is more just awkward, just throw things out there, somehow they work. I think it's Tim Means with the length he has and the skills he has, and the improvement takedown defense. That lightweight, his takedown defense was very questionable. He would get taken down by just about everybody. Then as he came up to the welterweight division, his takedown defense slowly got better. And he's been there with some pretty good guys who can take you down, have good takedown accuracy, and they really haven't been able to take him down. So I don't think Nico Price will have the most success with his takedowns. I'm not saying he won't get them, but I think he won't have as much success as he will need. And that will leave him on the feet too much against a better striker. And those little awkward type of motions that Nico Price does with his strikes will leave him perfectly open to get caught by these counter elbows that Tim Means is very good at. These very heavy shots. And pretty much Tim Means is going to put him in the Tim Means buzzsaw. Catch him with elbows, catch him with these sharp straights, knees to the body, all types of damage on the feet. And Nico Price really doesn't present too many threats on the feet outside of maybe some looping, wide, wiry arm hooks and kicks. And yes, that can be difficult to deal with, but I think Tim Means is going to just see right through it, fill him out, and get down his time. Even though it's awkward, he's going to get his timing down, find that mark, and probably put Nico Price lights out. And I'll say that happens in the first round. So in this fight, I have Tim Means via first round TKO. Now on to our co-main event we have in the welterweight division, Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos versus Curtis Millender. A fight between two fighters riding solid winning streaks right now. Curtis Millender on a 3-fight winning streak inside the UFC, in a 10-fight winning streak overall in his MMA career at the moment. And Dos Santos riding a 6-fight winning streak inside the UFC. So 2 guys riding big, solid winning streaks inside the UFC. 2 amazing strikers with questionable defense to wrestling and grappling. So I don't expect to see too much grappling going on in this fight, and expect to see fireworks in a striking match. Dos Santos presents like a shooter box type of style, wide hooks, heavy leg kicks, spinning back kicks, flying knees, spinning heel kicks to the head, like pretty much just throw the whole box at you, and it is aggressive. They'll down the shield, bring a lot of power, a lot of aggression, a lot of intensity. You got Millender, who has like a modern day John Jones inspired striking style, where it's a lot of hand fighting, controlling that lead hand, teep kicks to the body, spinning back kicks, flying knees, a lot of versatility to the strikes. And they're mixing a lot of strikes, maximizing that distance, that reach, and those like being long, wiry fighters, and they'll maximize that reach and make it very hard to get on them. And make it very hard to predict what's coming next or deal with what's coming next, because they're throwing so many strikes from so many different angles. And a lot of strikes look the same, but they end up different ways. So that very John Jones inspired style. Certainly, maybe not saying he's just a rip-off John Jones, but certainly you can see the inspiration, a lot of notes taken from what John Jones does, and they made it their own style. You're seeing a lot of wiry fighters start to fight that way. It's very difficult and it's very explosive, and it's also very exciting to watch. But how do these two people match up? I think it favors Millender, because Dos Santos has been the shorter fighter trying to get on the inside, especially coming in with hooks and running forward. You saw even in the Griffin fight, he ran into that straight, Max Griffin straight, and I think he got dropped by it twice in that fight. So against Millender, I don't think he has the same pop in his punch is Griffin, but he can certainly walk Dos Santos into a lot more than just a straight, because Millender has those flexible hips and those knees that you saw against Thiago Alves, walking right into that knee. He brought that knee all the way up to his chin and past his head, in one of the craziest knockouts you ever see anywhere. So he has those knees. He can walk into teep kicks, knees like stepping knees or flying knees, elbows, spinning heel kicks, spinning kicks to the face. He just got lots of stuff that he could walk you into. He's a very crafty striker, very hard to deal with, very fast, very agile, and he knows how to just mix things up and never really give you a chance to get it on the inside. In the past, his Achilles heel was just pure aggression and forward motion, maybe with some mixing of wrestling in there that making him have to worry about it. But I don't think he has to worry too much about that wrestling approach in this fight or grappling in this fight. He just really had to worry about a striking. And as far as his pure striking, I think Millender's style just favors him much more against Dos Santos, the shorter fighter trying to get in on the inside, and Millender having a bunch of different tools and traps he can run him into. And Dos Santos, like I said, he's a fighter that will die on his shield, but I think Millender is just going to chew him up when he's coming on the inside, or if he just stays on the outside too long, Millender will chain together combos and make that distance even greater, and put a lot of different stuff for him to deal with and make him just tag him up with a lot of different strikes. Never really give him any time to rest on the feet. Never really give him those opportunities to land big shots or get into the fight. But like I said, Dos Santos will down the shield. He will find opportunities. He will make this a fight. But I think Millender will counter him and make him hesitant to come on the inside and piece him up with a lot of variety of strikes. And I see him taking him out of there in the second round. So in this fight, I got Curtis Millender via second round TKO. Now to our main event we have in the heavyweight division, Derrick Lewis versus Junior Dos Santos. So you got two heavy hitters going at it in the heavyweight division, former champion Junior Santos and a former title challenger in Derrick Lewis. But how to see this fight going, I think it's more so than just the skills, I think it's the tendencies that will play out in this fight. So you look at skill-wise, Junior Santos, I say he has the skills to not only beat Derrick Lewis, but make it a very easy night. But having the skills and doing what you need with those skills to make it an easy night are two different things. I don't think Junior Santos will do that in this fight. He has the skills, all the experience, and all that stuff to make this, in the attributes to make this an easy fight, but I don't think he'll make it an easy fight. And I think that will favor Derrick Lewis because, like I said, I think it's going to be tendencies. Be like who's going to be pushing who back more and who's going to present opportunities for either opponent to land that kill shot. I think Derrick Lewis' style, he might not be the most defensive fighter, but he doesn't really leave opportunities for fighters to land that big kill shot against him. He does have a suspect body that might be an opportunity for Dos Santos, but just going for his head, like I think Junior Santos is more so going to go for his head. He doesn't really present too many real kill shots, whereas Junior Santos does present a kill shot for Derrick Lewis, and he presents it a lot of times when he goes straight back. If he's pressured, he goes straight back. He was hit by Blagoy Ivanov, he was hit by Tai Tuivasa, and Derrick Lewis hits a lot harder, and he's a lot less predictable with his striking than either of those guys, because he'll be in there like 1 second like he's tired or looking like he's not really there, and all of a sudden he could cover like 2 feet and land a very big straight, as he did against several different people, such as Volkov, Tybura, Travis Brown. He's done it so many times. And Junior Santos just leaves the opportunity when he leaves his hands down when he's going straight back. And maybe he won't leave his hands down as much because he's not dealing with a wrestler, but he will leave his hands down because he likes to throw that check hook. In the first couple rounds, or maybe just the first round, or if he's not tired, that check hook is very short and clean. It doesn't leave too much opening. But if he gets tired and starts getting into a fight, that check hook really just starts coming to a clothesline. There's not really much power on it. It's a slap. And he keeps doing it, like it's instinctually he just keeps doing it. And that leaves a perfect window for that straight to go down. So if he's just going straight back with his hands down, that leaves him open to that straight. If he's throwing that chuck hook lazily or fatigue-wise, it leaves him open to that straight. I think that's really going to be the killing punch in this fight. And Junior Santos, that's going to be the fight-ending punch in this fight, or at least it's going to set up the fight-ending sequence, is that straight. I think Junior Santos will be leading early. But against somebody like Derrick Lewis, and like in this level of MMA, or MMA at this point, there's not too many great defensive fighters, and their defense is always questionable. So when your hands getting tired, or at least when you fight Derrick Lewis or people like that, Derrick Lewis, you either got to get them out early, like Cormier did, like get them out when you can get them out, and don't give them that chance to catch you in the final round or those late rounds when you're kind of getting tired and you're not defensively on point, I would say. So you gotta get him out there early, or you gotta stay defensively clean the whole fight and never give him an opportunity. Which I don't think Junior Santos is gonna be defensively clean. His defense has always been questionable, so that's not gonna be a case of then his defense will be questionable even in this fight. So really, his real opportunity, he has to get Derrick Lewis out of there early. I don't think he's gonna get him out of there because, like I said, Derrick Lewis, though he might not be the best defensively, he doesn't really present those kill shots for Dos Santos where Dos Santos does for Lewis. So I think at least several points in this fight, if not when he gets done the first time, he's going to get caught by that straight going back, whether he's on a check hook or just instinctively dropping his hands down when his back touches the cage. Like when his back touches the cage, those hands come down just instinctually, and I think Derrick Lewis is going to take full advantage of that, catch him with that straight. I still think it's a very competitive fight, but when that opportunity presents itself, Derrick Lewis will take full advantage of it, and I think he puts Junior Santos out in the third round. So in this fight, I got Derrick Lewis to be a third round TKO, and that concludes my fight predictions for the main card of UFC Fight Night on ESPN Plus, Lewis versus Dos Santos. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe, and come back for more videos. Peace.